Let's say, for fun, you've got $150 burning I want to upgrade this bike and improve its visual appearance hole in your pocket. What would those upgrades be? What parts immediately come to your mind? Do you go bar tape? No. Saddle? No. Mind you, those aren't like terrible options. They will help with the performance of the bike by the way it feels, but the visual impact is, so what else? Like a stem? Nah. Drivetrain? Nah. You're likely to end up over budget anyway. A fork? No, that's not going to change the way a bike looks, almost really at all. And the performance gains, arguable at best. Not to mention, any fork that isn't a BMX fork is gonna put you way over budget anyway. The proper answer here is tires. Tires are going to be your best bang for your buck change in appearance and performance that you can invest your money into. And unfortunately, in my experience, myself and through others, it's kind of the one that gets neglected and looked over the most. So, as I mentioned in the video about my friend Mitch's Kona, the tire choice can seriously make or break an entire build. That's color, that's sidewall, that's size, that's, well, tread, I guess. Tread makes sense. And that sentiment echoed in this comment about yesterday's upload, the Trek 8500. Don't believe me? Well, have a look at the way my BMX sits right now. Currently it's sitting on an Animal GLH rear tire. I think it's 1 by 9.5 inches wide, relatively small by today's standards, and a fit, whatever the fit that copied the Rubin tire in the front. It is a 20 by 2.25. Also relatively small by today's standards. I'm gonna swap them over to these smooth Eclat Mirage tires, 2.45 inch wide, and just watch the way that it completely transforms the entire look of this bike with only a set of rubber. I sort of forgot that I also have a 24-inch tube in here because I was too lazy to go buy a 20-inch tube. So it's just been folded over in here, adding weight. Looking forward to fixing that. Okay. Pretty notable difference, if you ask me. Bigger tire, front and rear. The rear tire definitely takes up a little more space here. They just look better. So bigger tire taking up more space is a plus. You can obviously go too far with that. I've done it many times in the past, but compare and contrast the difference between the two sets of tires and like this fork that's on here versus what I'm about to put on it. Not nearly the visual impact that the tires had, right? Right? And like twice the cost for a fork versus tires, though I do welcome the lack of chance of death unexpectedly while riding a bike. Cracked forks at dropouts are not to be messed with. Whoa, this thing looks cool. I think the best example of a bike that could have been just as popular, possibly just as famous as it sits right now, if I had have just done nothing but spec'd tires on it, is the Grouch Rockhopper. Early on building this thing, I knew exactly what I wanted to do tire-wise with this thing because it would make the package. And it was between two choices. It was either the Simworks by Panaracer homage tires, like on Mitch's bike, or the limited edition green tan wall 26 by 2.1 Gravel King SKs that were released at the time. The deciding factor, the thing that makes this bike, was the size. The size of the Gravel Kings in 2.1s would just fill a little bit more space than what the Simworks homage would at 1.95. And there's kind of a lot of room to fill in on the Rockhopper. These tires, if you look at this closely, they're doing a lot of heavy lifting. They are completing, they are the package. It's possible to get it wrong. Sometimes it's not always this obvious. But if you're wondering, what is like the Spindatt criteria? What's Eric's criteria for looking at a tire that's gonna come out right? And it's really simple. You just follow like 3 things. So first things first, find out what the maximum allowable tire clearance is for your bike. And then like kind of stick around there. If it's a newer bike, it's probably posted on a website somewhere. If it's an older bike, probably someone has tried to put a bigger tire in it before. You'll be able to find that information online relatively easy. Keeping in mind, of course, the maximum tire clearance that companies will publish is generally on the conservative side because they know people like me, you, and all the other people on the internet were a little bit more liberal towards the larger sizes. Be a little bit careful doing that. Seeing a tire chew away at chain stays, it hurts a little bit. Second, choosing your tread pattern. By the way, this is not advice for mountain bikers. That type of tread talk happens elsewhere. I'm not qualified to talk about that stuff. However, if you're not sure what you want to use for tread, the Gravel King SK tread, the blocky with like some side lug tread from Panaracer, it's probably going to handle the majority of things that you'll feasibly throw at it. Fine for the road. I've done lots of road miles on this. Obviously, it's called a Gravel King. Pretty good on gravel. I've also had them on a couple mountain bike trails. Other companies make treads like this. I just so happen to be sponsored and supported by Panaracer, so you're normally going to see me talk about Panaracer tires. Middle ground tread, very safe choice all the time. And step 3, casings. Like wire bead, like traditionally wire bead casing that's like hard and stiff and kind of like, you know, not that great. Avoid that. But at the same time, the top end, the like most supple, soft tires, they're also no good for me either. Because as I said before, I tend to ruin them. Being a hack does not have its advantages. So easy way to think of it here is just like whatever the middle tire pricing that you saw in all of your research, that's the place to be. The sweet spot that I've learned that's durable enough yet comfortable enough to ride is about 120 TPI. I guess Gravel Kings are 126 threads per inch. That's still tough enough to take on all of my hackness, yet feels way better than, you know, something like this that's probably and that's it. That's the end. That's the way to make your 150 Canadian dollars, which are fake, by the way, go as far as they possibly can for improving the performance and, at the same time, the appearance of your bike. You should get yourself like a nice set of tires. I promise you, you will not regret it unless you get like a puncture flat right away. That would really suck.